Hey, it's Juck.
Jalen, what's up, brother? Down here at the lake, enjoying some time with the family. Just thinking about you and your crew and how much fun we had when you were up here on campus with us. So I hope you have a great 4th of July. Let me know what you're cooking, man. Have a good one.
Let's get it.
I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championships.
The rivalries. It's up there on top of the list, man. And if we allow them to devalue it, we lose a lot of what makes college football special. Don't let them do it. Don't let them devalue what it means to you. This is what they mean when they say showed the most love. This is what Richie Wesley meant when he jumped in the pool with Dan Lanning and said, all these programs have showed me a lot of love, but one showed me the most love, and he and Dan Lanning then jumped in the pool together. Why is this guy so creepy? You heard that. Like, the way he says that, just thinking about you and the great time we had together when you were up here. What? This guy is nuts. But if that's what it takes to win the recruitment, if that's what it takes to get what you want. JUCK'S, what's up, man? I'm just down in the studio thinking about you and all the fun we had the last time we were together. Hope you're having a great 4th of July. Make sure to watch my video and hit like and subscribe. Talk to you soon. And welcome into Juck on Bucks. Appreciate you so much for joining me. You might not think I'm funny, but I crack myself up. Anyway, just want to hop on, say a quick hello. Last night, I was sitting in my bed, could not get to sleep, and because of the fireworks, of course. Like, can we just agree on a time that we stop with the fireworks? If we could just agree on a time, then I'll wait to go up to bed, right? But like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, can we just have a time? Anyway, not the point. I'm sitting in my bed, and I can't sleep because of the fireworks, so I'm thumbing through my phone. There's not a lick of new college football content to watch on my YouTube app, which was irritating. So I figured I'm going to give you something. If tonight, because you know they'll be back again with the fireworks tonight, it's Saturday night, maybe you have something to watch. So that's why I'm coming on here to talk to you. Anyway, college football is the craziest, most ridiculous American sport. There's no doubt about that. Never disappoints, always exciting. And this recruiting class has been outstanding entertainment. And we're going to talk about some of it today. Texas Tech, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, SC. In all the years I've followed recruiting closely, we've never seen anything like this. Pardon the interruption. You guys will understand after you're done with the episode. But I just was uploading this thing, and I just went to check Calvin Russell. Where did he choose? Calvin Russell, 5-star wide receiver out of Miami, the number 3 wide receiver in the country, was making his decision at 9 p.m. tonight, which I reference in this episode a little down the road, between Michigan and Syracuse. Obviously, he's going to Michigan. No, he chooses Syracuse. He's going to Syracuse, which you're going to see is kind of part of the topic of tonight's discussion. We have never seen this many. Now, this is the 4th 5-star. 4 5-stars are going to Syracuse, BYU, Texas Tech, and Houston. 4 out of 32 total, just 22 committed, 23 now. 4 of them are going to those schools. That's bizarre. It's a whole new world, man. Anyway, that's our update. Now, please proceed to the following rest of the episode. Thanks. Like this. And if I was not a fan of one of those programs, if I had no skin in the game, so to speak, it would be really fun to watch this unfold. As it stands, my favorite team just dropped out of the top 5 in the recruiting rankings, so I'm not so excited about how things have gone. But I got a few observations. And the first one is, I think it is really, really strange that it is not until this recruiting cycle, as we've seen the House bill pass, that is supposed to, in theory, work like, okay, the Wild West era is over, and you get true NIL, and you get revenue sharing. There's no more big NIL pay-for-play deals. Everyone working off a $20 million cap. That's how it's supposed to work. And when we see this pass, it's not till now that we've seen, like, we've never seen more crazy deals for freshmen ever than right now. Like, I think there's multiple different reasons for that, but it is pretty bizarre that we were in an era where you could do anything you want. Then we get to the era that rules come in, and we've never seen it like this. In addition to that, other things we're noticing, out of the 32 5-stars, 22 are committed. 3 of them committed to 3 schools that never get a 5-star player. BYU got Ryder Lyons. Keyshawn Henderson is going to Houston, and he is not flipping off that. And most recently, we see Felix Ojo go to Texas Tech. Texas Tech didn't even make his Final Four last week. It was Ohio State. It was Texas. And we all thought he was going to stay in Texas. And he did, but at Texas Tech for a guaranteed 3-year, $5.1 million deal. Now, many are freaking out about this number. This number is obviously a huge number, but I think that we get too hung up on the number because it's a freshman kid and hasn't played college football, instead of thinking about, like, let's think if we're putting a roster together. In addition to that, David Sanders last year got about the same deal. Jackson Cantwell, about the same deal. That is kind of the market for the top tackle. The difference here, aside from the fact that David Sanders and Jackson Cantwell are ready to play in college football, and Felix Ojo isn't, is Jackson Cantwell went to Miami. Sanders went to Tennessee. This kid went to Texas Tech. And for some of the younger people who haven't seen a good Texas Tech team, like, they're fun. They're fun because they're always like this fun offense when they're rolling, and they do it off ingenuity, not with great players, but with ingenuity and scheme. And they were always pesky for Texas and Oklahoma, and it was always fun to root for them. It's a really cool spot to see a game from. I always liked those night games at Texas Tech. They always got weird, but I'm excited to watch Texas Tech. And if you didn't see what they did in the transfer portal, the number 1 transfer portal class, they have got a player, Cody Campbell, who was teammates with their current head coach, Joe McGuire. He sold his oil company for $4.2 billion, and he's about my age. And this was their opportunity. They were going to use his money and buy up as many good players as they could in the transfer portal, because it might have been the only time they can do it. Now, $1.7 million for Felix Ojo, and people are saying, well, they're either going to blow their budget on one player, or they're not intending to follow these rules. And we'll get into that in a minute with some other teams, but I don't think it necessarily means that. Let's say they're planning on operating inside the new rules and they budget 1.7 for their left tackle. It wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world to budget 1.7 for your left tackle. And if you think he's going to come in and start day one for 3 years, that's perfectly reasonable. Now, I don't think left tackle has that much positional value in college football to take up that much of your budget, but some might. In the NFL, it does. Not so much in college football, in my opinion. But let's say they're budgeting $4 million for their freshman class. They've got $2.3 million left to spend. Their third highest rated recruit in this class is Donovan Webb. And you guys, if you're a regular Juckeye, you know Donovan. Donovan was a safety target for us. It was kind of a back burner plan. He's a 3-star kid. I like him a lot. But that's their third highest rated guy. So if you've got $2.3 million to spread across 23 stars, you can make that work. They're not making big money. So that can work. Where you run into a red flag is, okay, are they adding several big deals like this, like we've seen some schools? If you're Texas Tech, I actually, as crazy as this sounds, think that this is a good move if you believe in the player. I think Sam Greer's the better player, but if you believe in this player, I think it's a good move, and here's why. What you're doing if you're Texas Tech, and they've just invested $250 million into their facilities, the best, and I'm talking number 1 in all of college football in Lubbock, Texas. It's amazing. I took a YouTube tour. It was crazy. But what they're trying to do is let these kids in Texas know, the top players in Texas, that Texas Tech can be an option for you too. And they needed a player to crack the seal. They needed a player to crack the seal so that the up-and-coming players look and say, well, look, Ojo went there. He's number 2 player in Texas last year. And this is why I thought it was so important for Nebraska last year when they got in on the David Sanders recruitment towards the end to land him. Because if they were to land Dylan Raiola and David Sanders, now all of a sudden the up-and-coming recruits are looking at Nebraska in a different way. Same kind of scenario here for Texas Tech. This puts them in on guys in the future. It makes them become, a place that is relevant to up-and-coming recruits, and we've already seen it. 2 of the top 10 players in the class of 2027 just got crystal balled to Texas Tech. One of them, Damian Guyton, and guys, we haven't talked about this dude. I always talk about, I think the best athlete on the field, pound for pound, is that 240-pound, 6'3" edge rusher. This is another one of those dudes, and he is the craziest athlete of them we've ever seen. And I think I mean ever. It is almost breathtaking watching this kid play. Would you rather he go to Georgia or Texas Tech? I'm all for this. He's from Georgia, by the way. So of course he's from Georgia. But yeah, go to Texas Tech, buddy. Have fun out in Lubbock. But it is interesting. BYU beats Oregon for Ryder Lyons, a 5-star quarterback. Everybody's tried to pull Keyshawn Henderson off of this Houston recruitment. He won't budge. 3 schools that would never land a 5-star. And when we look at these fan bases, like, this is monumental for them. They're invigorated. They're going nuts. There's a ton of interest. Like, I can't wait for a couple years to watch Ryder Lyons playing for BYU. I can't wait to watch a Texas Tech game this year. Like, the all these signings that they had in the transfer portal, like, is this going to work? Are they going to actually gel? I mean, it's really interesting stuff. But the difference is they don't have rosters full of players that they need to keep happy, like Texas and Ohio State and Georgia. They don't got guys that they need to retain. If you lose a couple guys that are veteran guys because they're irritated that you're paying some freshmen more money than them, well, that's the cost of doing business. You're trying to upgrade talent with the younger guys so they can afford to use more of their budget on younger dudes. The teams that are throwing up the red flags are the teams that are coming out with multiple of these big deal guys. And we talked about USC for quite a while. USC just landed Booby Feaster, adding him to the number 1 class, putting more distance between them and anybody else. Booby Feaster was the number 1 wide receiver in the class of 2027. He reclassified to 2026. Brian Hartline was in on him, and at that point, Booby said that Hartline was like the only one who had his best interest at heart when he told him that reclassifying to 2026 wasn't a good idea. So Hartline moves out on the recruitment. He ends up going to USC. And when we look at him, now another one, USC, like 10 top 100 players, it is pretty obvious that USC plans to take any kind of punishment that comes their way and take it to court. And someone said to me in the comments the other day that I was discounting all the big money alumni and all the money that is out there at USC. If this was next year, we'd have an argument about that. Like, but here's the thing. For USC to have made this work and stay within the rules of true NIL, they would have had to have millions of dollars of open-ended deals already signed and ready to go to just slide across the table to these players. And there was not enough time to get that done. There wasn't enough time to orchestrate that. In the future, I think the smartest programs are going to pick up on that and start operating like that, where you take all the boosters and all the local companies and say, look, if you want to be involved with our NIL, we need open-ended deals, commercials, whatever it is, put a price tag on it, and we will slot the player in there. Now you got these fully executed deals, and collect as many as you can. When you're sitting with Felix Ojo, you say to Felix, I've got $400,000 in revenue share for you. I've got another $200,000 worth of NIL deals. You can pick your favorite ones out of my pretty stack right here. And that's your true NIL. That's how you orchestrate concrete NIL deals in real dollars, instead of saying to a player and his family, we're going to give you $400,000. And then when you get to Ohio State, the opportunities are endless. They don't want to hear that, man. They don't want to hear it. That's not working. It works with some because you got some excellent coaches at Ohio State that can win with less money. Not all of them, but some of them can. More on that tomorrow. But the rest of that money got to come from the $20 million budget. And there are now way too many young millionaires in that USC freshman class. They're not intending to play by these rules. Let's go to the Blue. Had themselves a weekend. Another 4-star wide receiver, 6'3" Travis Johnson, 4-star cornerback, flip from Georgia, Dorian Barney. At the time of this recording, I think, let's see, it's 8:23. Maybe it'll happen before I'm done here, but at 9 o'clock, 5-star Calvin Russell will make his decision between Syracuse and Michigan, number 3 wide receiver in the country. Look at this comment from this idiot. So the new narrative is that Michigan is spending more than OSU. Let me repeat this. Michigan is spending more than OSU. You can't make this stuff up. I I don't even know what to say. Like, I can't stand it when people are so arrogantly wrong. You know what I mean? Yes, buddy. In fact, Michigan is spending more than not just OSU, than just about everybody outside of USC. Yes, that's true. Michigan, $1.7 million for Carter Meadows. Offered Savion Hyder, a running back, $800,000. Deuce Gerald's, $1 million. Calvin Russell, $1.5 million. They're paying big bucks. We're talking about a program that took the entire month off when all other staffs were going and visiting recruits. They self-imposed not going and visiting anybody, and now just are the hottest team in football. They're paying big bucks. They don't intend to follow these rules, and I'm not knocking them. That's what's happening. They're betting on this getting blown up. Texas A&M, Michigan, USC, they will not be attempting to get under this $20 million salary cap. And some folks think that, well, the clearinghouse is going to start blowing up these NIL deals. I don't think this is going through the clearinghouse. If I'm a school that's intending not to follow the rules, what do I want? I want this to go on as long as possible. I want it to get blown up in court. But when it gets blown up in court, all the other schools who are following the rules are now back on my same level. Right now, I have an advantage. So I want it to go as long as possible and then get blown up in court. Well, the clearinghouse takes one day to spit these deals back. That's going to go back and forth real quick, arbitration, and then we're in a lawsuit. I'm going to pay them in revenue sharing and drag this out as long as possible. We don't know when they're going to be reviewing that revenue sharing to make sure everybody, they're going to have to audit everybody. Like, that's going to take time to see who's all within their 20 million bucks. That'll take a long time. So that's how I'm going to pay them. And then they'll catch me then. And then they'll try to do what they're going to try to do. And then I'm going to sue them if we don't see lawsuits elsewhere around college football before then. But that's my strategy. I'm paying them through rev share and making this draw out as long as possible. And if you are someone like Ohio State or someone who roots for Ohio State, you want this to go to court as fast as possible. So we get either thumbs up or thumbs down. This is going to survive or it's over and Ohio State can get back in the game. Michigan faced a decision that every program faced. Do we comply or do we not comply? So what are your options? You weigh your options. We can take an advantage and build a much better roster by not complying and taking them to court because we really believe this is going to get blown up. Or maybe it's just a coin flip. What's the worst that can happen? Well, so far we've seen punishments like coach and GM suspensions, some recruiting sanctions, being able to take less guys out of the portal. Do we get to keep the players? Yes. Do we forfeit games? No. Can they deduct from our revenue sharing later on if this holds up? No. They agreed that they will not do that. Well, sounds like something that might be worth giving a shot, which is why so many Ohio State fans are irritated at what Ross Bjork did. And I have got no argument with them. If you come, like, look, they want to be irritated. I'm not mad at them for being irritated. I don't know what the best thing to do was here. I just know that what Ohio State was always going to do is follow these rules because Ross Bjork was in on this before anybody even really had a whole lot of time to think about it. He was in on this, about how this was exactly going to be shaped. Like, he was in on this thing, which meant Ohio State is going to be following this, and Ross Bjork believes in it, and he's going to have to live with the consequences if he sets Ohio State back at all from it. No doubt about it, man. And boy, Ross Bjork wants to be loved by the Ohio State faithful. Many disagree with his decision. I do want to say, though, when we look at this class, how things are going, who do you think Ohio State would have landed if revenue share and this stuff didn't come this year? Because I'm starting to get the feeling that despite that, I don't know that we would have landed many more of these guys that we didn't land. Like Carter Meadows, no, they're not getting close to that deal. Deuce, I don't think so. Ojo, no way. Mark Bowman, no way. Like, who is it that we can pinpoint and say that's one right there that we would have won if not for this? I'd have to sit down with a list, but off the top of my head, I don't know that any of these big, not Waffle, definitely not at 2.6. No. And it kind of just makes me feel like I think there's two ways Ohio State looks good in the end here. Number one, this house settlement works. I think it's a good deal for Ohio State. I think they come out looking great if it were to be upheld. Number two, revenue, like collective bargaining. I think that definitely is a strength for Ohio State. I'm not so sure if the lawless operation is great for Ohio State at this point, because without the these guys that got the billionaire that just turns the spigot on, until he turns it off, they're just killing everybody. Texas Tech and Michigan right now with Larry Ellison's money, they seem, and whoever is funding the USC thing, they're killing everybody. Our Russian oligarch hasn't turned his spigot on. I mean, if he does, all good. But it just feels like it takes one of those guys to really get to that point. And we don't got one who's got his spigot on. Isn't this crazy? Like, this is what we're talking about here. One billionaire comes in and funds the program. And now this program, who Ohio State has smashed in recruiting for the last 20 years, is all of a sudden, after a 7-5 season, Ohio State off a national championship. I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan finishes ahead of Ohio State in this class. It's crazy. It's crazy. But it's fun. It's fun because I'll tell you what I did. I watched Dorian Barney's commitment, and I got to tell you, just watching his commitment, kid's wearing a shirt. Guess who's on his shirt? Dorian Barney. Dorian Barney's on Dorian Barney's shirt. It didn't look like a Buckeye, man. Didn't look like a Buckeye. It just didn't. So take it for whatever it's worth. There are certainly going to be some bad apples that are amongst the kids that just want to take the best offer. There is. But there's also going to be plenty of good apples whose mom and dad and agent are pressuring them. No doubt about that. That's been going on forever. And it's magnified now when we're talking real world money. If we're talking about Ojo, for instance, at $5.1 million, look, dude, that's guaranteed money. Are you kidding? It would be almost irresponsible of a parent to tell him to take this deal over here where they're offering you $350,000 a year, not guaranteed. It would be irresponsible because that kind of money, you operate this right for him while he's young and he's set for the rest of his life, and it's guaranteed. And we talk about development all we want. There's no guarantee that kids make it to the NFL, no matter where he goes. But that $5.1 million, that's guaranteed now. They signed it. It's done. So yeah, as far as the kid, like, people can laugh all they want and say that Texas Tech's never sent a first round left tackle to the NFL. Okay. They've never had a first round left tackle like that out of high school either. So at any rate, guys that size, they generally, if they stay healthy, they get their shot in the NFL. So if he's a good player, he'll be a good player. But regardless, he's now worth $5.1 million in a couple of years. And, well, not quite, but you get my point. It's guaranteed money that can set him up for the rest of his life. You got to do that. You have to. I did hear he handled it rather classlessly. Do you remember that video that I played? I did that short. So on Texas, it's called. And this dummy, this bozo, was so irritated about JJ. And he was talking about Texas wide receiver Ryan Wingo. And he was saying, Ryan Wingo's a better prospect. I don't care what they say. It's not, you can't run that fast and jump that high like they're saying about this Jeremiah Smith. Just be that big. Doesn't work that way. It's not the way it works. And that dummy came out and posted this the other day, yesterday, about Felix Ojo. He said, Felix Ojo told coaches from multiple teams yesterday that it was down to Texas and Ohio State, while already having the deal done with Texas Tech. There's way to go about things in life. Deceit isn't one of them, no matter your age or circumstances. In my opinion, Texas dodged a bullet with Felix Ojo. Good luck in Lubbock. Now, that is a salty Texan, no doubt. Whether that story is true or not, I don't know. But I do know that it was certainly not true that Ryan Wingo was a better prospect, though a very good wide receiver, not a better prospect than JJ. Now, when we look at this class, Ohio State has now fallen out of the top five. They're in number 6 right now. This actually happened last night, and you can see here on the first graph. Last night, LSU jumped over Ohio State, knocked Ohio State down to 6. Then this morning, LSU got another 3-star, and that 3-star actually dropped LSU right below Ohio State, which shows you how close they are. Well, Alabama got their fifth star, and now they have jumped ahead of Ohio State. LSU's still behind, but I mean just a sliver behind. Then you got Oregon, then you got Michigan. When we talk per player average, where Ohio State was kind of shining, they're now 6th in that. So they are outside the top 5 in class rank. We got to figure something out to step this up. Now, the good thing is, like I said, we got a bunch of dogs on the recruiting trail that can win, and we get the right guys, but we also miss out on a lot of the right guys now too, more than we have before. And that sucks. You don't ever like to miss out on the right guy to go get a lesser talented right guy. Now, I got a question from somebody about the defensive line, and we consistently see fights about the defensive line. And I saw some comments on my defensive line commitment video, and we're going to go over that. Basically, the question was, is it true that Ohio State's defensive line recruiting has actually dropped off, or are these people just Larry haters and they're full of crap? So I've done an extensive breakdown. I will share with you on our next video, which may or may not be tomorrow, depending on what I got to do. But I guess I could click through a couple of these pictures and share with you. So you saw my Dan Lanning thing in the beginning. I mean, who loves me most, man? Like, so what happened was, by the way, that's a player we're after, the number 1 defensive tackle in the class next year. And you look at that and you hear these guys talk about who's showing me the most love. And it's like, this is what it takes, man. That's what it takes. That's what they want. Can you believe that? Like, that's what those kids want. They want all that attention. Ew, get away from me, dude. I don't want that. I don't want to respond to that goofy text message. But Lanning's a great recruiter. So the point is, our man Brewster must have thought, man, this is perfectly normal. And he tweeted that on his timeline, right? He shared that video that Dan Lanning sent him. I'm pretty sure Dan Lanning didn't want everybody seeing that. I mean, he's probably okay with it, but yeah, he knows that's embarrassing, but that's what you got to do. That's what the good recruiters do. They stay on them, man. Ask them about their family and you and your crew. And boy, I sure did enjoy that weekend we spent together. It was just fantastic. And I'm sitting here with my family thinking about it. That's how much it meant to me. Brian Kelly in the new video game. What do you think? What do you think? That looks like somebody. It doesn't look like Brian Kelly, but it looks like somebody. I talked with you guys about Auburn the other day, and just what a god-awful class they've got going on. They're somewhere like in the 90s, and they have 5 total commits. Well, they got their 6th. They went and grabbed their 6th commitment. He is rated by one source. I mean, these guys are down bad, man. They are down bad. And it sounds like the Hugh Freeze experiment. They're saying, this is what you got. We'll give you some money in the portal if you win some games. It sounds to me like that statement he made about going to a bowl game. I don't know if you remember, but I played that probably about a month ago. They essentially asked him, like, his season goals, and he just sounded all nonchalant. Maybe we'll get better. Maybe we'll go to a bowl game or something like that. Like, dude, that's not what we're trying to hear from our expensive head coach. And we just blew all this money on this great freshman class and in the portal. This dude wants to play golf and chill. I don't know. Seems weird. And Tennessee comes out with these new uniforms. Guys, tell me what you think. Now, I like the look of this uniform. I think it actually makes the feminine orange look a little more masculine. But when we look at the stripes on the sleeve, you see those stripes on the sleeve? So some people were saying that they like that. It looks like a tire tread. And I was wondering, what in the hell is that? So I read the description, and it is the Davy stripe, as in Davy Crockett. Remember Davy Crockett's jacket with the what do you call them? The dingles, the dingleberries on the this right here. One of these type shirts, these tassels. that is what it is. That it's a replica of that. And I just got to say that I don't think that like the feminine orange looked more masculine in that format. And then you had to do that. And we are back to feminine. They can't get away from feminine at Tennessee. Anyway, that's our show today. I will talk to you guys maybe tomorrow, maybe not. At any rate, I do appreciate you watching. And I'd love to hear your comments about what you think of anything we talked about in the show or anything in general in the comment section below. But please do be sure to like and subscribe. If not, I'm going to send you a personal message like Dan Lanning. All right. Talk to you soon. JUCK'S out.